want to talk about a topic that's a little bit on my mind, and I know that it really affects a lot of different people, and that is the feeling of self-doubt. And self-doubt is absolutely normal. So if you're feeling self-doubt, don't worry, you're normal. And actually, I always coach clients and tell them that, if you're feeling a little bit of doubt or nervousness or anxiety about you being able to accomplish what it is you're seeking to achieve or change or transform or heal from in your life, that is a sign that it's actually really important to you. It's sort of like the good nerves, although it can be unnerving, right? To feel, can I do this? And maybe it can cause a little bit of panic or anxiety, or have I made the right choices? Am I taking the right path? And almost every time in my life where I've had that nervousness, so that butterfly in my stomach, later on when I look back on it, I found that the more anxious I felt about it, the more self-doubt I had, the more it ended up working out in the long run. And I always try to remember too, is that when I feel like giving up is exactly when I need to keep going, because that's just about when the magic is going to happen. I had a good friend say to me the other day that they found the same thing, that their anxiety was usually a sign that something really amazing was just about to happen. Something great was just around the corner, that she knew that she was on the right path when she felt that feeling, even though it can be really scary. Change isn't easy, but there's some ways that we can deal with self-doubt so that it becomes more of our compass. It becomes more of something that we normalize and something that we feel, but not something that we can feel and acknowledge without it becoming the stop sign to our dreams and goals. And number one is just practice self-compassion. Just know that you are loved and that you only need validation from yourself. Of course, it's nice to know that you have support and loved ones, but the only person you should be seeking validation from is you. The other thing is to look at your past accomplishments. Look at the hard things that you've already done in life and the things that you thought you couldn't do, and start building in your mind, or if you need to, make a paper folder or a greatest hits folder or file on your computer to remind you of the things that you have accomplished. And if you've done it before, you can definitely do it again. I promise you. I promise you. One of the things I like to say to myself is, but I don't know how to do that yet. And I always now add the word yet to that sentence. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I go yet, because we can learn anything it is that we need to learn. The other thing is to remember how to compare where you are now to where you came from. And this is part of looking at your past achievements. I heard a great speaker say once that too often we compare ourselves where we are now to where we want to be. And sometimes that gap seems so far and so scary that it doesn't feel like it's worth pursuing. But it's sort of like comparing myself physically where I am now to the horizon. And if I start walking towards the horizon, guess what? It just keeps getting further away. It's unattainable. And that's because as we reach goals and milestones, we tend to make new ones, and the goals get further and bigger. But it's recognizing the milestones. So rather than compare yourself from where you are now to where you want to be, compare yourself now from where you were. From where you were. And that'll remind you too, Brené Brown said in her book, The Atlas of the Heart, that sometimes circumstances may seem the same. And we can sometimes dwell on, oh my gosh, this is happening all over again. I'm going through the exact same thing. But the circumstances are not the same, because you're not the same. You're different. You've grown and changed. So I really want you to practice that self-compassion, that when you're feeling that doubt, love yourself. Remind yourself of all the wonderful and hard things that you've already achieved in your life, the changes that you've made, and even the things that you thought at the time were mistakes, how they actually worked out in your favor, or even if they didn't, how you eventually overcame them and they became a part of your story that you can actually embrace. I think it's John Maxwell that says sometimes we lose, sometimes we win, sometimes we learn, but we can never ever lose. And that's just it. So Self-doubt means when you're feeling that self-doubt, love yourself, remind yourself of your accomplishments, and take one tiny step towards. Don't try and get to the horizon. Just take one little step. Sometimes all it takes is working on your dreams 15, 30 minutes a day. And before you know it, it adds up, and it adds up fast. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. So I really encourage you to do that. I wanted to share a story that I heard once. Now, I don't know who wrote the story or where the story comes from, so I apologize. Look, my arm keeps disappearing. I love these filters. Doesn't like my tattoo. Sometimes, with self-doubt and obstacles and challenges, it can feel like we're really being carved for our future purpose, that we're being chipped away at, that we're sort of getting pieces of us knocked off. And life is sort of like that. It's not always easy. I mean, they call it the growing pains, not the growing tickles or the growing giggles. It's growing pains. And this story, whenever I go through hard times and I feel sort of the evolution of healing and that transformation and the process of healing, as it can be so uncomfortable, the doubt, the anxiety, the fear of uncertainty of who am I going to be when I finish this transformation, and am I going to like this person? Am I finally going to be happy, or will the next goal be too big? All these things that worry. I try to remember that we're work in progress. And when I think about that phrase again, being carved out of us, the story that I wanted to share was when Michelangelo carved the statue of David, which is one of the most perfect statues, or seen to be one of the most perfect statues in the whole world. He actually carved him out of scrap. It was not a pristine piece of marble. It was not a solid piece. He took it out of scrap. It was really meant for the rubbish, the bin. It was to be tossed. But instead, he carved one of the most beautiful, most renowned pieces of art in the whole world. And someone asked him, how did you do that? How did you carve something so magnificent out of trash? And Michelangelo said, he was always in there. I just carved away the pieces that didn't belong to him anymore. And that's what life will do for you. So even though it may seem painful, there's a masterpiece inside of you. There already is. It's already in you. And that is the best message I can leave you with today, is that you may be self-doubting, you may have a little bit of anxiety, and you may have some very real struggles and worries. But I promise you, inside of you is already your masterpiece. It's in there. So just keep going. Love yourself. Remind yourself of what you've already accomplished. And do one small step towards where you want to be going. And you got this. You got it. You're going to be okay.